everyone, my name is Michael, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry, Yoigoshi-hen. Now, originally I was going to stream this whole chapter of Higurashi, however, I realized that my streaming schedule was already very crowded, so I decided to make a video recording series of this game instead. So that's why this is like a recording and not a live stream. I believe for the rest of the Yoigoshi series, I'm going to do recordings over live streaming, mainly since my live streaming times are pretty packed already with the games I already have been playing, such as like House and Fata Morgana and Limbus Company, so I just thought to do a video series whenever I have a recording session. My recording sessions are very infrequent, so I don't know how many episodes I will consistently put out for this series. However, I will still be playing Yoigoshi to the very end. So without further ado, let's continue on to chapter numero 2. And let's figure out who Miyuki is. After walking down the heavily forested road for a while, Miyuki-chan suddenly came to a halt. Huh? She remained silent, and answered my question by pointing forward. Another car. A single car was parked at the base of the stone steps leading up to the shrine. And the car didn't look local. The license plate had the name Narima written on it, so the car probably belonged to someone who came here from that part of Tokyo. Oh wait, is it another suicide car? I started to wonder if we'd find another body inside, but I kept those thoughts to myself. I feared that speaking those words would cause it to become reality. For a moment, the faces of those people quickly flashed through my mind. Those three peaceful-looking men and women who passed away in their sleep. I said a silent prayer before cautiously peering inside the parked car. Please, let there be no corpses inside. I pointed my flashlight inside, but nobody was in there.
よかったな。誰もいなくて。
おかしいですね。誰も乗っていないなんて。
Though I was smiling to myself, Miyuki-chan turned to me with a stern look on her face. Then I pointed my light all around the car, and even underneath. But there was no signs of human presence.
なあ、みゆきちゃん。誰も乗ってないのがなんでおかしいんだ。
この車、今日ここへ来たばかりって感じです。
Could they be at the shrine?
だったら乗っていた人はどこに行ったんでしょう。車輪の跡もほら。
On Miyuki-chan's suggestion, I turned my flashlight toward the ground. Indeed, the fresh-looking tracks along the muddy ground led straight to the tires. The rain began in the evening, so these tracks must have been created sometime after that.
車は普通のナンバーか。じゃなかったら確定なんだけど。
え、みゆきちゃん、今なんて？
いえ、なんでもないです。
Miyuki-chan brushed my question aside, then focused her flashlight inside the car once more. We carefully examined every corner of the driver and passenger seats with our flashlights, then moved on to the back seat. The back seat had a few magazines and CD cases strewn about, but nothing particularly interesting.
なあ、みゆきちゃん。さっき何を言いかけたの？
大したことじゃないです。
She's avoiding our questions.
気にしないでください。
Of course we're going to worry about it now. As she said that, Miyuki-chan ran her gaze up and down the car's interior. Despite saying it was nothing important, she continued painstakingly examining the car. We've already established that there were no people here, so what is she searching for now? Feeling it awkward to stand idly by, I continued to check the inside of the car as well. However, I couldn't find anything particularly unusual. A keychain with a cutesy mascot character was dangling in the driver's seat.
運転手は女か。
Although it's pretty common for men to carry cute little accessories like that these days. No need to jump to conclusions. Hold on. A cutesy mascot character was dangling in the driver's seat. I mean, Arakawa, can you give me a description of the mascot character?
特に異常はないみたいです。そろそろ行きましょうか。
Following Miyuki-chan's suggestion, I stepped away from the car. I mean, if we got a description of the mascot character, I might be able to pinpoint who this might be. But they're not giving me a description.
それにしても今どのあたりなんだろうな。
今、古手神社の手前ですね。ほら、ここです。
Miyuki-chan pulled out a map I didn't even notice her bring, and then spread it out and pointed the flashlight. She slid her finger across the map, then stopped at a specific point.
少し前に石段が見えますよね。神社はあの階段の上ですよ。
階段。
I turned my gaze upward as she said that, and even in the dark, I could clearly make out the steep staircase climbing uphill. But even though I was certain that there'd be a shrine gate at the top, I couldn't see it from here.
あんなの登るのかよ。
You know we do.
なんだあるんだありゃ。
とにかく登るしかありませんよ。行きましょう、龍之介さん。
Yuki-chan walked forward at a decent pace, then began ascending the stone steps. I ran after her, skipping steps to catch up. Oh. However, the poor visibility and weak footing caused me to fall down to my hands and knees. Sounds about right for you, Arakawa.
大丈夫ですか？滑りますから気をつけてくださいね。
悪い。
Miyuki-chan came down the stone steps to where I stumbled with an umbrella in hand. I couldn't see my feet very well. The rain had made the steps slick, and some of the steps were even covered in a slippery layer of moss. But despite all that, Miyuki-chan was able to calmly ascend the steps. It's like she's been here before. The constant rainfall left our bodies completely soaked, even though she wasn't, because this place has been shut off for many, many years.
大丈夫ですか？だいぶ冷えてきましたね。急ぎましょう。
I started to feel ashamed of myself. Wasn't I the leader of this expedition?
みゆきちゃんは大丈夫か？寒くない？
私は平気ですよ。龍之介さん、ここも苔がすごいです。足を滑らせないよう気をつけてくださいね。
了解。おっと。
My feet slipped just like earlier, right as I was in the middle of answering. On the other hand, Miku-chan maintained a respectable pace, like she was walking a familiar path. I glanced down at her feet, and noticed that she was wearing hiking boots. Clearly, she made appropriate preparations for a mountain excursion. I'd expect no less from someone with plenty of experience in Girl Scouts. Ooh. After climbing several dozen steps, I was able to see the shrine gate at the top of the stairs. Pretty well maintained for all these years. I mean, it's only been like 20 years. It may have looked quite dignified in the old days, but the frame was miserably dilapidated after years of neglect and weather exposure. It doesn't look that bad, though.
まさか壊れて崩れたりしないよな。
I timidly looked up at the shrine gate as I continued walking forward. And the next moment, I heard a single footstep from behind my back. Hanyu! But, I mean, character that I could not have named right here. This is, right after Sumi Horoboshi. We don't know any character that I just mentioned the name of right there. Oops. Oh. we're getting some noir music here. I turned back, but nobody was there.
どうしたんです？
いや、別に。
The Hinamizawa syndrome is sinking in to Arakawa. Miyuki-chan had already passed through the gate, but she must have noticed that I stopped moving. She looked back and asked about it, but I brushed her off with a vague answer. Miyuki-chan is walking in front of me, so those footsteps I heard couldn't be hers.
気のせいだ。
Are you sure about that? Also, did I say something that was a spoiler by accident? I keep on doing that by accident. I should keep on remembering. This is supposed to be between Tsumi Horiboshi and Minagoroshi when players can read this. So I should not be giving any spoilers from, you know, Minagoroshi and beyond. But I keep on doing it by accident. I mean, the series has been out for like 20 years at this point. So if I accidentally say spoilers, that's a little on you. This is also a console arc, not even the main storyline. If you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you already know what I'm talking about here. I said that to myself as I walked through the gate and entered the shrine grounds. Again, Yuki-chan and I should be the only ones walking through the grounds. Then, what on earth are these footsteps?
あそこに見えるのは本殿ですね。
ああ。あそこに誰かいる。なんてことはないよな。
一応確かめておきましょう。
As Miyuki-chan said that, she turned and began walking toward the offering box, so I followed behind her. I began to feel frustrated that the constant footsteps seemed to mock me. It's probably just an echo. But even so, my mind focused behind me as I continued walking forward. It definitely felt like something was going on. Sploosh? I stepped into a puddle. I wasted so much attention on what was happening behind me that neglected the ground by my feet. Minor grammatical error, guys. I'm sorry to say. I think it should be that I neglected the ground by my feet.
散々だよ。
Sorry to be that guy. Oh? I sighed pathetically while turning my gaze down toward the puddle by my feet, and was suddenly startled. My feet were deep in a pool of blood? And beside my feet, is that a person lying there? Huh? What's happening? What? It was a girl. The corpse of a young girl, with her abdomen torn open, was lying there, and her eyes looked like glass as they stared off vacantly. What the fuck? What the actual fuck? Wait, is this Rika? What the fuck? The body was partially obscured by the shadows of crow feathers scattered around it. This is Rika! And then all around me, I heard the sound of elderly people chanting a prayer. It's as if...
Ryunosuke-san?
Oh no, Miyuki doesn't see it, does she? Miyuki-chan turned back to me as soon as she noticed the commotion. She doesn't see
どう
it.
しました？
みゆきちゃん、これ、
これ？
She doesn't see it. Yuki-chan quizzically turned her flashlight down toward my feet. But the only thing down there was a puddle.
あれ
The girl I saw lying there a moment ago was gone. I examined the puddle once more, and then the hem of my pants. My pants were plenty soaked, but it wasn't in blood.
龍之介さん、大丈夫ですか？
The rain started coming down even heavier, and the raindrops vigorously slammed into the ground all around us. The cloud cover was so thick that the surrounding area was completely swallowed by the darkness. I couldn't see anything. I started to calm down, and carefully traced my flashlight along my surroundings. But nonetheless, I couldn't see anything noteworthy.
どうしたんですか龍之介さん。顔が真っ青ですよ。
ね、いや幻覚見ちまったみたいでさ。
Dude, you're making her even more concerned.
幻覚？
Miyuki-chan seemed surprised and started intently surveying our surroundings. But the pounding rain seemed to eliminate any indications.
どんな幻覚ですか？人？それとも。
いや、ごめん。俺の気のせいかもな。
Maybe a trace amount of light poured between the clouds and illuminated the shrine gate or something, and I caught its reflection in the puddle. But could that explain the red hue of the blood? And what of the girl's corpse on the ground? Was it really a hallucination?
龍之介さん、幻覚を見ることってよくあるんですか？
まさかそんなものが見えるほど不健全な生活は送ってないっての。
そうですか。なんだか気味が悪いですね。
I struggled to find the words, so I couldn't say anything. But that vision I saw earlier may have stuck with me.
奴らの気配はないか。
奴らって？
あ、いえ、なんでもないです。
Were you looking for someone? A moment after Miyuki-chan said that,
先を越せたか。
wait, is she actually saying this, or is this what, Arakawa was thinking she's saying? A wicked smile floated across her face, and her eyes began to shine. What is up with you, girl? What was that smile just now? I couldn't understand what Miyuki-chan was trying to say, and who she was talking about when she said them. I looked down at the puddle once more. No matter how I shined my flashlight on it, I couldn't see anything reflected in the water.
行きましょう、龍之介さん。
What was that smile earlier? It feels like strange things have started happening since we arrived in Hinamizawa. And those unfortunate events were what caused this change in her? But if that's the case, am I next?
まさかな。
I started walking forward to shake off the ridiculous ideas running through my head. Just then, I noticed a large broken lantern lying on the ground with some characters scrawled on the side.
わた流し。
Oh,
木南沢の村祭りのことですね。
the cotton drifting festival.
どうやら村祭りがここで行われていたようです。
神社の境内でか。当時は賑やかだったんだろうな。
ここってちょっとした公共施設だったみたいですよ。きっとこの集会所では村のイベントやお稽古ごとの教室なども開かれていたんでしょう。
へえ、なるほどね。
Though I said that, I wasn't particularly interested in Miyuki-chan's explanation. After all, I knew all that before coming here. Of course, it wouldn't be so strange for her to know something about this that I didn't know. It might be arrogant of me to say, but I did do a fair amount of research on Himizawa beforehand, and I'm proud of the information I managed to gather. So how could this woman named Yuki Soemachi have gathered so much information beyond what I could find? Moreover, Yuki-chan described it in a way that seemed like a local describing current events. Like a resident of this village was giving a tour to a group of outsiders. I wonder if there is the Ryugu connection that I've been talking about. Though I felt bad for doing it, I was gradually starting to feel suspicious of her. Yuki-chan finished making an offering, then began walking toward the assembly hall, leaving me behind.
こっちに集会所があるはずです。どうしました、龍之介さん。
みゆきちゃんってこの村のことずいぶん詳しいんだね。
ええ、まあ私もまた聞きですからよく知りませんけどね。
Are you sure about that? How much of that was the truth? It felt like my heart was going to be crushed by the wave of doubt swelling inside. Yuki-chan and I came to a halt after walking around the corner. Even though there shouldn't be anyone in the assembly hall, I noticed the light leaking out through the front door.
誰かいますね。
だな。もしかしてさっきの車の持ち主かな。
さあ、どうでしょうか。
Yuki-chan and I tried to assess the situation, but it was difficult to tell from here.
あの明かり、さっき高台から見えたやつかな。
おそらく。
しばらく様子を見た方がいいんじゃない？
様子って、それじゃ集会所には行かないってことですか？
ああ、その方が。
I heard something fall to the ground inside the assembly hall. And then, a woman's voice. But I couldn't make out what she was saying.
行ってみましょう。
行ってみるって？
集会所の中にです。ちょっと確かめてみても損はないと思いますよ。
Who's in here? Yuki-chan put a hand on the assembly hall door as she said that. So I quickly reached out and grabbed her hand.
ちょっと待った。幽霊とかだったらどうするんだよ。
はい。
She looks so annoyed. Yuki-chan let out a light sigh and looked at me. Then she gave me a bewildered look that clearly said, "What are you talking about?"
いや、だから
まあその可能性も確かにありますが、幽霊なのかそうでないのかは確かめてみなくちゃわからないでしょ。
そりゃそうだけど。
It's not that I'm scared. I was just thinking, we need to stay cautious and choose the best possible course of action here. Because I'm not afraid. I'm definitely not afraid.
幽霊だったら私が殴り倒してあげます。ドア開けますよ。
Hell yeah.
あ、おい。
However, my objections were completely ignored. Yuki-chan was brave enough to slide the assembly hall door open in one quick pull. That moment, I felt something jabbing into my throat. In the next moment, someone jumped in from the side and pushed me away. It was Miyuki-chan. As I staggered to regain my footing, I caught a glimpse of a kimono sleeve in front of me. Oh. It's her! Oh my god, it's her! I lightly rubbed my hip where I was hit. Then a frightening look ran across my face as I realized what was happening. A woman in a kimono was standing in the shadow of the doorway, in a blind spot that couldn't be seen from the entrance. There was a magical atmosphere about her that didn't feel of this world. A ghost? The word came to my mind, but I couldn't bring myself to speak it. She pointed the tip of a slender object straight towards Miyuki-chan. Was that what was pressed against my throat earlier?
Miyuki-chan.
Miyuki-chan was standing directly across from the woman and staring straight at her. Miyuki-chan and the woman continued their motionless confrontation for a while longer, and the woman was the first to open her mouth.
あんたたち 何問題？
いや、あの。
Her deep, powerful voice left me awe-stricken. I shrank back. However, Yuki-chan stood resolute and maintained her composure.
こういう場合は先に名乗るのが礼儀でしょう。ほう、別に怪しいものじゃないです。これ下げてもらえませんか？
After letting out a quick sigh, the woman pulled the slender object back and slid it under her armpit. Her sharp eyes darted back and forth between Miyuki-chan and me. Eventually, the tension in her face relaxed.
なんであんたみたいなのがこんなお姉さんと一緒にいるんだろうね。
Damn!
それどういう意味で？
The woman in the kimono didn't answer me. She simply chuckled to herself quietly. And Miyuki-chan seemed unstirred by this woman's perplexion. Oh my god, I cannot speak right now. And Miyuki-chan seemed unstirred by this woman's perplexing reaction.
夜分にすみませんが、電話をお借りしたいんですけど。よろしいでしょうか？
Oh, about the suicide car, yeah.
電話？バカをお言いでないよ。こんな村に電話なんてあるわけないだろう。ここをどこだと思ってるんだい？ひなみ沢は知っての通り廃村だよ。ですね。もしかしたらって思ったんですけど。期待を裏切って申し訳ないね。私が謝ることじゃないんだけどさ。
The woman in the kimono had relaxed her attention enough to tease us in an affable tone. She was probably close to 40 years old, an inscrutable atmosphere emanated from her entire body, giving her an imposing, dignified presence. She had a lovely color to her skin, but her finely chiseled facial features had me feeling doubts about her background.
とにかく中へお入りよ。濡れたまんまでそんなところにいたんじゃ風邪ひくよ。
みゆきちゃん。
じゃあお言葉に甘えて。
At the woman's request, Miyuki-chan and I walked into the assembly hall. The crumbling wooden frame of the assembly hall smelled faintly of mold. Rain and wind came blowing in through a broken window. Posters and papers were affixed to the pillars and walls here and there. Although it was difficult to make out, I could read out the phrases Onigafuchi Guardians and Damn Opposition. According to the newspaper articles and other sources I read, there was a plan to construct a dam in this village a long time ago. The planned dam would have submerged Hinuizawa, but the strong opposition and the murder incidents caused the plan to be suspended, but that topic largely faded away after the Great Hinuizawa disaster. I imagine the villagers here were sticking these posters to the wall as they discussed the dam construction project and their opposition plans. The struggles that occurred in the Showa era, like the labor-striking movement, felt almost as distant as the Industrial Revolution or the dawn of civilization. It felt unnatural to step into a space littered with relics of another era. Somehow, it felt like I was stepping into another world.
こっちさ。
As she said that, the woman in the kimono vigorously slid the door inside the hallway open. Oh shit, there's two people. I remember you, but I don't remember you. Because I know you from the manga. Interesting. Once I saw the assembly hall in front of me lined in tattered tatami mats, I let out a quiet "ah!" in shock. I noticed a man in the room, staring at us with a stagnant look in his eyes. So the lady in traditional clothing wasn't the only one here. At any rate, standing around doing nothing wasn't helping anything, so I stepped one foot into the room, hoping to prompt Miyuki-chan to do the same.
こんばんは。お邪魔しますね。
But Miyuki-chan, with her nerves of steel, stepped into the room and greeted everyone in a lively, cheerful voice that felt entirely out of place. And so, I reluctantly followed behind her. Inside the room, I noticed a young man around 20 years of age, and a young woman around the same age or a little older. And the two of them were staring at us like we were suspicious characters. Looking closer, there was one more man sleeping on a futon in the corner of the room. Oh? Counting the woman in the kimono, there were 4 people here in total. They didn't stand up or return the greeting in any fashion. They simply continued staring vacantly at us. Who's the man? With their lifeless, ghostly eyes. I read the manga a little while ago, but I don't really remember all the characters. Like, I know the broad strokes of what the manga had for the storyline, but I don't remember all the characters. Feeling creeped out, I quickly turned away, and was immediately startled. Contrary to her cheerful greeting, Miyuki-chan was monitoring the people in the room with a sharp, bloodthirsty glow in her eyes. Holy shit, Miyuki! You have the Ryugu eyes right here. Like, Rena made very similar eyes. I think you're a Ryugu.
Miyuki-chan?
I wonder, this is very different than the manga because there was no Miyuki in the manga. Maybe she noticed me staring. Miyuki-chan turned back to me with a bright smile. What on earth? What's that face just now?
皆さん、お休みのところすみません。お電話をお借りしたいと思ってお邪魔しました。ちょっと失礼しますね。
Do you have anything to say about that? I don't know anything about the young woman. The assembly hall was in disrepair. The tatami mats were tattered there were cobwebs stretched across. The tatami mats were tattered, and there were cobwebs stretched all across the furniture. Yuki-chan scanned the interior of the room, then walked over to a public phone in the corner of the assembly hall. But when she got there, she let out a discouraging sigh.
電話はどうやらこれしかないみたいですね。
だな。
A vintage pink public phone was lying on the ground covered in dust, and the cord was cut. There was no point in lifting the receiver. It was very clearly dead.
他にはないのかな？
なさそうですけど。
At least not in this assembly hall.
あんたたちどこに電話したいんだい？
ちょっと警察に。
You're not helping your case, young guy. The moment Miyuki-chan said that, the 2 apathetic-looking people suddenly looked up and stared with attention.
警察ってなんで？人が死んでたんだよ。ここに来る途中で。車の中で全員座席に座ったまま。
そんな。
Everyone in the room gasped in unison. Or more accurately, all but one. The woman in traditional garb rose to her feet, and stood with a piercing gaze in her eyes. What about the man sleeping?
見たんですか？見たって何が？死体ですよ。本当にみんな死んで。
Okay, you could just admit to what you did at this point, or admit to what was going on there, because that quote right there is way too suspicious.
ああ、まあな。
I hesitated to talk about what I'd seen. Also, the girl with pink hair kind of looks like an Ace Attorney character. I don't know who, but she looks like she's from Ace Attorney.
全員綺麗な顔して死んでたぜ。
With their beautiful faces? That's a really weird thing to talk about when you're talking about people, dead people.
それが？いえ、僕死体は苦手だから。誰も得意なやつなんていねえだろ。
そうですよね。
The young man let out a forced laugh, then looked down. Maybe it was just poor lighting, but his face looked pale.
どのあたりなんですか？その自殺者の車。
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on. Hold on. How did you know it was a suicide car? Their beautiful faces, they're all dead. How did you know it was a suicide car? How did you know?
ここからそんなに遠くない
Arakawa, you should pick up what she's saying here. How did you know?
だよね、みゆきちゃん。
Yeah, in what dialogue? Hold on. Where did you find the suicide car? Yeah! How would you know it was a suicide?
みゆきちゃん。
早く警察に連絡しないとね。
I think Miyuki caught on to what I saw. Or, you know what I heard. Miyuki-chan's voice was unnaturally loud. Has Miyuki-chan been thinking about something completely different this whole time?
あなた方の携帯はダメなんですか？
県外なんですよ。ねえ龍之介さん。
ああ。
村の電話が一つでも使えればと思って電話を探しに来たんですけど。
After Miyuki-chan said that, the young woman pulled out her cell phone and flipped the screen open. Her phone was on a different carrier, so I thought there might be a chance, but in the end, her phone was just as useless. The woman in the kimono pulled out a cell phone of her own and held it up to her ear to check. But after a while, she ended the call and shrugged her shoulders.
かかんないね。だいたいこんなところで電話なんかつながるわけがないだろ。
The young woman tried holding the phone at several different angles to get a better signal, but in the end, she shook her head and spoke up.
私のもダメみたいです。県外でした。
Looking closer at the young lady, she was dressed in a fluffy balloon skirt made of light cotton. It's the kind of casual dress you'd wear in town on a date. She's probably wearing sandals or high heels that match. I couldn't possibly see her wearing hiking boots with that. There were beer cans and snack bags scattered about in front of her. Was she drinking here with the man in the corner of the room, and he fell asleep drunk? Going out on a date in a place like this? And not only that, but getting drunk? Sorry for the weird noise right there, but something's not adding up about you. I think something's going on here. I don't think that guy's drunk asleep. I think that guy might be dead.
どうかしたんですか？
あ、いや、なんでもない。
And also, she knew about the suicide car. How did you know it was a suicide? Then I noticed the young woman was glaring at me with an unpleasant expression. Maybe she noticed me staring at her. Then she quickly turned her gaze downward and reached for a bag of snacks on the floor. Beside her, the young man was sitting quietly and holding his knees, staring off at the tatami floor in the distance.
あなたはどうですか？
乙部、さっきからどうしたんだい？
Oh?
ビクビクして。
Otobe. The woman in the kimono waved her cell phone about as she stared at the man she called Otobe. He shrugged his shoulders, then muttered something in an apologetic tone.
すみません。ちょっと考え事を。
携帯どうですか？つながりますか？
あ、はい。電源入れてみます。
電源切ってたら携帯電話の意味がないんじゃないですか？
それはまあそうですね。
Yeah, you're not really hiding, you're hiding something. He stared at the woman in the kimono as he said that. Then the next moment he looked startled. I wonder what he saw. I turned to see what Otobe was looking at, but the woman in the kimono was in the shade, so I couldn't make out her face.
おい、お前。
すみません。電池が切りかかってたんで、電源切ってたんですよ、僕。
Otobe turned his back to me and blocked the display with both of his hands to keep his phone hidden from me. Then he carefully operated the buttons while staring at the screen. Dude, your phone has connection, doesn't it?
こんな山の中じゃ電話なんてつながるもんじゃないよ。沖宮まで行って直接話した方がいいんじゃないのかい？それとも。
あ、僕の携帯アンテナ1本なら立つかも。
マジかよ。
うん、大丈夫そうです。玄関の方に行けばもっと立つかも。
Otobe continued staring at his cell phone as he got up to leave the room. And all the while, Otobe avoided making eye contact with any of us. Eventually, I could hear his voice faintly echoing down the hallway.
もしもし、警察ですか？はい。はい。
He's definitely not calling them.
お、あいつの携帯なんとか繋がったみたいだな。
どうやらそうみたいですね。
Be sus, Miyuki, be sus. Miyuki-chan was staring intently towards Otobe. For some reason, she did look very happy. Was there something troubling about the fact that his phone was able to connect?
みゆきちゃん。
Then I noticed that the woman in the kimono was also staring in Otobe's direction as well, with an equally harsh look on her face. And then, Otobe's voice came echoing throughout the assembly hall.
ひなみ沢です。はい。集団自殺で。僕もまた聞き。はい。
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to click right there. Maybe Otobe was growing uncomfortable with all of us staring at him. He turned completely away from us, bowed down, and began to lower his voice.
とにかくあいつが連絡してくれたならもう大丈夫だな。
だといいですね。
What was that? Miyuki-chan's words seemed to have some hidden subtext. Was it just my imagination? The next moment, I heard Otobe shouting, "Ah!"
どうした？
携帯電池切れちゃいました。すみません。
Otobe looked upset as he said that, while walking into the room with his cell phone in hand. There definitely wasn't anything displayed on his phone screen.
まあでも途中までは警察と話せたんだし、警察も大体分かってくれただろう。
そうですよね。
Otobe's eyes started shaking erratically as he said that. Dude, can you act any less suspicious? Does this guy suffer from intense social anxiety? Or maybe...
これで外部と連絡を取る手段は完全に断たれたってことですね。
まあ夜はどっちみち動けないんだからさ、のんびりと警察が来るまで待つしかねえよな。
ですね。
Miyuki does not trust anyone. Oop, wrong button. As I went to take a seat on the tatami mat, the young woman in the balloon skirt moved to the side to clear a space. Miyuki-chan took a seat next to her.
それにしてもさ、無人のはずのこの村で少女が5人も顔を揃えるなんて、これはきっと何かのご縁だよね。
Anything to say, woman in Komodo?
それじゃあ死者しか住まぬこの村で一夜限りのお付き合いといこうかね。
The woman in the kimono grabbed her long, rod-shaped object wrapped in cloth and held it under her arm. Then she grabbed a bottle of sake, opened the cap, and held it up. With nothing better to do, I grabbed the sake glass and held it up to receive some, but she quickly swept my hand away.
これはそこのお姉さんにだよ。
Oh! She looked straight at Miyuki-chan as she said that. Her eyes had an imposing presence. Ah, she wants Miyuki to be more loose-lipped. Through alcohol.
どうも。
A courageous grin flowed to Miyuki's face as she received a glass of sake and took a sip.
みゆきちゃん。
ごちそうさまです。
いい飲みっぷりだね。
どうも。それじゃあ、私も。
Miyuki-chan poured another glass of sake and held it out to the woman in the kimono.
どうぞ。
Maybe she feels a kindred spirit within Miyuki, because the Ryugu connection.
それじゃあ、せっかくだからいただこうかね。
The woman in the kimono graciously accepted the glass offered to her.
お酒はお強いんですか？
Come on.
あんたほどじゃないがね。
I think you can.
まあ一夜は長い。長いようで短いようで。でね。
The woman in the kimono's sharp eyes looked like they could see through anything. It felt like her eyes were trying to learn something from Miyuki-chan. But Miyuki-chan wasn't faced by this woman's gaze, as she was confronting her face to face. Also, great of us to drink after we witnessed a suicide. Or half of us witnessed a suicide and the other half learned of it. Great that we're all sharing drinks now. What's the deal with this woman? Why is she so concerned with Miyuki-chan? And Miyuki-chan is acting the same. It's like the two of them are old acquaintances?
あ、龍之介さん。私、車から荷物取ってきます。
みゆきちゃんはここにいな。荷物なら俺が。
いいんです。荷物がいっぱい積んであって、どれがキャンプ道具なのかきっとわからないと思うから。それじゃ。
Miyuki-chan gently smiled to the woman in the kimono, then quickly rose to her feet. They know each other. They definitely know something. And then, she stormed out of the room in a hurry. Miyuki-chan was keeping secrets from me. I was fairly convinced of that. However, I had no idea what they might be. And I had no idea why the woman in the kimono was so interested in Miyuki-chan, despite allegedly meeting her for the first time today. We're in an abandoned village, where all the villagers perished in the disaster. The odds of running into someone you know in a place like this are slim. Moreover, what are the odds that a freelance writer from Tokyo would be acquainted with this creepy woman in a kimono at all? I can't say that it's impossible, but the probability seems quite low. And what's more, even if the two of them are acquainted, they're not speaking to each other as such. So what on earth is going on? On top of that, I'm beginning to doubt that Miyuki-chan is a freelance writer at all. Wow, you just picked up on that.
それじゃ、とりあえず名前くらい聞いとこうかね。
Alright. I'm actually towards the end of my recording session right here. Yeah, I've been recording for about 4 hours today, so I should probably close it right here, right now. Right before everyone introduces themselves. So in the next video of Yoigoshi-hen, we're going to learn all the characters' names and a little bit about their backgrounds. I am very excited to see more from this chapter because we're already off to a very intriguing mystery, and everyone seems to be lying and having their own agendas in Himizawa. How will Arakawa-san stand in the village of suspicion and uncertainty?
Okay.